this putt? It seems to be a fair way.
This looks like around 29 feet.
Now that's a good putt to hole any day of the week. Well, that's worth a replay. Let's take another look.
Hello everybody and welcome to today's video. Actually, one of a couple of videos that I'm going to be putting up today. I've also got a stream to look forward to. So I am going to be busy on the YouTubes today, but the first one off the rank is PGA Tour 2K21. I was given a copy of this from 2K Games, and it is out now. Embargo is lifted. You can buy it on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, and PC, and it is a very good game. I'm going to have a review up on digitallydownloaded.net, so you can check that out for my full thoughts. I'm not going to use this video to review the game as such. There's something else I want to talk about instead. But yeah, just know that this is actually a very good version of golf. And golf is a sport that I have enjoyed a great deal on video games for a very long time, basically as long as I've been playing games. I am a fan of sports games. It's something that I think surprises a few people because I spend so long talking about anime games and stuff, but I do like a good sports game, and I have been playing them as long as I've been playing video games. But where I think that a lot of sports games age poorly, I think that golf has a timeless quality to it. So when you look at most of the sports games, the thing is, they do age, and while you might be nostalgic for some, when you go back and play them later on, you realize that, as a general rule, with this particular genre, things do get better as technology gets better, as they're able to render more detailed animation to make sure that the gameplay is smoother, as they're able to put a lot of pizzazz in, as they're able to render, golf courses and whatever in a more realistic way, as they're able to put better physics in. All of these things mean that sports games definitely get a lot better, to the point that when you go back and look at some older ones, they're pretty much unplayable. And a good example of that is the old Super NES FIFA games and whatever, and N64. I remember really enjoying FIFA on the Super NES and N64 and NHL as well, and playing a lot of that with my brothers and friends. But going back and trying to play those now, it's very difficult, and the reason is quite simply that more modern games have basically superseded what those older games were able to offer. The one exception to that, I think, is golf, and right now on the screen you're seeing one of the very first golf games that I ever played. So this is a bit of a before and after video. This game is Jack Nicklaus Golf on the Game Boy, and I loved this game on the GBA. I chewed through many batteries playing this thing, and golf is one sport that I do think ages quite gracefully, in that a good quality golf game from yesteryear is still very playable and enjoyable today. And the reason is, I think, there's a couple of reasons. One reason is that there's not much player interaction, or there's no player interaction in golf. You don't have tackles, for example, as you would in a rugby game, and all the ways that a tackle could go wrong. You don't have checks in ice hockey or all of those kinds of things. None of that really complex interaction between two players happens in golf. It's really just you and the course. So that is a benefit to golf, because it is probably the hardest part, I think, would imagine, in a sports game to render well, and golf doesn't have to worry about that. Physics is of course an issue, but the thing is, golf is quite simple. The ball rolls in a certain direction. As long as you're able to model the way that the ball rolls, then yes, you can get better, smoother movement of the ball across the fairway or the green. But as long as you set up the rules that they're nice and predictable and understandable, that the player doesn't feel like they're being cheated as they play, then they're willing to be quite forgiving. So Jack Nicklaus Golf here, obviously you can see that the movement of the ball is nowhere near as realistic as it is in the 2K game that is just out. But because there is a consistency to the way that the game plays, it's easy to understand it as an abstraction of the sport. So yeah, the other thing about golf, which I think means that it is a kind of timeless genre as far as sports games go, is that the mechanic for swinging the golf club is quite understood and standardized. And it was standardized very early on, where you have the bar to determine power, and then you also have a way within that bar to also determine accuracy. Now, the 2K game does an interesting thing with that, and I know that this is a holdover from the same developer from its previous games, the Golf Club, I think they were called, in that you can actually flick the stick off the control stick to determine both strength and accuracy. But really, that is just an analog version of what Jack Nicklaus Golf is doing right here. So it's certainly, if you turn the difficulty up on the 2K game, it's certainly much more realistic and much more difficult to master. And this game is quite simple and easy to play as a result by comparison, but the same basic mechanic is there. So golf games very early on standardized how they played, and we haven't seen too much innovation, genuine innovation about golf games in the years since. Really, the 2K one, the main innovation there is the course creator and the ability to share courses online and basically have an endless amount of content to play with, which will certainly get populated as more and more people get on there and start creating their own courses, recreating their local golf courses or whatever. That's something that obviously the Game Boy one didn't have. There's a limit to the number of courses you can play with that. But the basic mechanics of the sport are very easy to adapt and abstract into a video game. They're very forgiving in terms of the complexity and the areas in which they can go wrong, and therefore the games are timeless. Which raises the question, really, do you really want to play the kind of the newer golf games? You know, if you've got an old favorite golf game, is there much of a reason to upgrade and continue on? And I think that's why we don't generally see golf games being an annual franchise. There are, I mean, you can see that 2K would like to make that happen, and there have been attempts to try and turn golf games into an annual thing, but I don't think it works in the same way that FIFA can be an annual series, or Madden can be an annual series, or NHL can be an annual series. I don't think there's that much innovation that happens, and therefore the incentive for fans of the sport to upgrade is just not there. So people might want to upgrade every third or fourth year just to get the improved visual engine. That is obviously possible, but this game is quite simple in that regard because it's actually built in Unity anyway. So I don't think that the visuals are a particularly important thing with golf games, as long as the courses themselves look quite nice and appropriate to real life. I think fans of the sport are quite forgiving on that perspective, and I don't think that other than that desire to have the games on the most modern console, I don't see there being much of a reason for people to upgrade every year. So while this one I think is an excellent golf game, I would question whether people who have the previous golf games from this developer will feel the same need to upgrade, especially since they're already available on PlayStation 4. What I do think will happen will be, if 2K games can turn this into an annual franchise, then people will have the incentive to upgrade next year, because we'll have a new generation of consoles, and it doesn't really matter whether these games look that much better, because this is still perfectly pleasant on the eye aesthetically. It doesn't necessarily matter. People will want to upgrade just so they can have it on the newest console. But anyway, that's enough for this video. I hope you enjoyed a bit of footage of old classic golf and then this new one. Do check out my review on Digitally Downloaded. Like I mentioned, it will go in more depth about the quality of the game itself. Please do click that like and subscribe button if you enjoy my videos, and please do consider backing me on Patreon, because that support will certainly help me to continue to grow and do interesting things with this channel. I do have a lot of plans for it, but you know, I've got to get to a point where I can support that. So thanks as always for watching. We'll be back with some more videos later on today.